Okay, so this is 7th grade 3-4. Actually, one lesson too far, and that was yesterday's video. So let's just look at these really quick. Here, example 1, find the percent increase relative to the original amount. I underline that. Maybe you ought to also. So you can see they're talking about an alligator that grew a few inches. He was 32 last year and 38 this year. And so what they look at, and what you should look at when you have problems like this, is the change. How much change was there? Well, there's a 6-inch growth. And you want to divide, you want that 6-inch divided by the original full amount. And that was 32 inches. And that's exactly what they do here. Remember, it's always the part equals the percent times the whole. And so the part is 6, because there was a 6-inch change, equals the percent times 32, and 32 was the whole, or 100%. And so then you just simply divide 6 by 32, and you get 0.1875, and that equals the percent. But don't forget, you need to move the decimal a couple places, and that's what they did here. So it's actually 18.75% growth from the original 32 inches. Okay, are you guys ready here? Yeah. Or should I wait for you guys to quit your talking? The Triad actually did it for you here. It says what will be the length of the alligator next year if its length changes by the same percent as it changed this year. And so you're using the same percent. It's 18.75, but that's going to be multiplied by not 32 inches, but this year 38 inches. And so it's going to be 0.1875 times 38 equals 7.125. That's going to be the increase as far as inches. And you have 38 plus 7.125 equals 45.125. And so next year the alligator will be 45.125 inches long. You can scratch out to convince me. I'm not worried about that. Looking at example 2, it says find the percent decrease. So it says last year website had 40,000 visitors, and this year it has 37,000 visitors. What is the percent change in the number of visitors to the website from last year to this year? And so again, you can see that they're marking the change. And so that's about a 3,000 views change. And so you would write it up as 3,000 equals P times 40,000. And I set that up right here. 3,000 equals 40,000 P. Divide each side by 40,000. They cancel out. You're left with the percentage over on the right side. And then you're simply dividing 3,000 by 40,000. And what do you get? You end up with 0.075. You're going to move the decimal 2 places, and you end up with 7.5%. So it was a 7.5% decrease from last year to this year. All right, example 3, find the percent error. Gosh, I'll just let you guys look at that one. Scratch out the Triad. I'm not so worried about that. I'm looking on page 166. The key concept, percent change and percent error problems are kinds of percent problems. Well, that's kind of a no-brainer. You can use the percent equation to solve them. And remember, it's the part over the whole. And they've set that up here for you. I actually scratched out number 1 and number 2. You don't have to worry about those. Number 3, construct arguments. It says a store manager marked up a $10 flash drive by 20%. Let me pull a stick here. Some of you just might know that off the top of your head here. Mr. Wise, if a $10 flash drive is marked up by 20%, how much would it be then?
12?
Yeah, it'd be $12. So I'm just going to write that down here, $12. And then she marked it down by 20%. So you wouldn't think that you wouldn't go, well, it went up 20%, that's 12, and now I'm going to go down 20%. It's going to be back to 10. It doesn't work that way, because when she marked it down by 20%, it's marking it down by $12, not by the $10. And so explain why the new price of the flash drive is not $10. Well, I put 20% equals 0.2, and 0.2 times 10, and the 10 is the original price, equals 2, so that's $12. Then you would mark down $12 by 20%. So then it's 0.2 times 12, which is $2.40 or 2.4. So it's $12 subtracting $2.40. So the new price is $9.60. You're going to have some problems like this where it's two steps. They're going to maybe mark something up or mark something down by a certain percentage. And then the next step, you mark it up or down again, but you need to go off of the second price. All right, number 4, 5, and 6. So scratch out, was it an increase or decrease? What was the percent change in the games the team won? That's what I want to know. Number 5, what was the percent change in the price of the gallon of gas to the nearest whole percent? So there shouldn't be any decimal. It says the nearest whole percent. So let's say, for example, it's 37.5%. Well, you would round, if it's 5 or higher, you're going to round it up. So then it would become 38%. Scratch out, is it an increase or decrease? Not worried about that. Number 6, several students measured a 25 millimeter long nail and wrote the measurements shown at the table below. All right. And so let's see here. It says round to the nearest percent. And they're asking what the percent error is. So Lane measured it at 26. So what's the difference between 26 and 25 millimeters? Well, 1 millimeter. And that 1 millimeter, it represents what percent error? Okay. Tanisha measured at 23 millimeters. Well, the difference between 23 and 25 is 2 millimeters. What was her percent error? And 1, 25, so I think you get the idea there. So scratch out whose measurement had the greatest percent error, but make sure, you round it to the nearest percent. Well, they didn't say whole percent. So nearest, I'll just put down whole. So there should not be a decimal. Okay. Let's look at 7 and 8. This is on page 167. I did this for you. I set it up. This first box is 3 equals P times 10. And then 0.3 equals P. And so I want to know the percent increase. Did the same thing over here. We're talking about an original quantity of 5, and the new quantity is 3. Doesn't matter what we're talking about here. It says what's the percent change? Is it an increase or decrease? So from 2, and then equals percent times 5, 0.4. And so the percent decrease is, I don't know what it is. 9 and 10, circle those. 11, circle that. 13, circle that. Scratch out 12 and 14. I'm not worried about those. So nice, huh? Page 168. Circle 15, circle 16. So let's look at 16 for a moment here. In the first week of July, a record 1,060 people went to the local swimming pool. In the second week, 105 fewer people went to the pool. In the third week, 135 more people went to the pool than the second week. So, just to be clear here, the first week is 1,060. The second week is 105 less than that. So in the third week, it's 135 more people went to the pool than the second week. So you're going to have to calculate the 1,060 from 105. And then you're going to add 135 on that for the third week. And then they even go to a fourth week here. So make sure you keep track of that. It looks a little blurry. What is the percent change in the number of people who went to the pool between the first and last weeks? So in other words, the difference, and then you need to calculate that into percent from the first week to the last week. Okay. Number 17, be precise. Scratch out A, but I do want you to do B. 18 is worth a stick. I won't grade it, but it is worth a stick. Circle 19 and 20. Questions?